Hey everybody, it's Brian Asbury, and I just wanted to welcome you to today's episode. If you could, like today's episode, hit that subscribe button, and let's continue to grow the developmentally speaking brand. Today, my guest is former WWE Intercontinental United States Tag Team and current TNA Director of Authority, Mr. Santino Marella. Santino, how are you, sir?
Oh, good, good. How you doing?
Good. I can't complain. I just want to thank you for taking some time out to come on today and talk a little bit about your career.
No problem. Yeah, I was skiing, so I was a little. I had to rush to the car, and anyway, so I apologize for not being in more of a professional environment, but just trying to get the slopes.
So I'm going to ask you a question you've probably been asked a million times. What made you want to get into professional wrestling?
Um, well, you have to get a job one day when you grow up, and I thought that this would be a pretty pretty cool job. Like it beats a lot of other types of jobs. So, and I thought I'd be good at it, just based on my interest and my athletic ability. Growing up, I was on the national judo team and I wrestled in high school and university. I got in, I ended up starting later in life. I started training at like 28,
Mhm.
but yeah, I just thought it'd be a really good fit.
Now, how long did you train before you decided to go to OVW?
Well, I had like 6 indie matches in Ontario, and then I actually left to Japan for a year. I was going to try and break in there, have success, and then kind of be recruited back to North America. That was my plan. But at the end of that year, I overstayed one of my a tourist visa while I was trying to get my work visa. So because I overstayed it by like a few days, I was banned for like a year, and that was when I had to reformulate my game plan, and that was when I went to OVW.
Now, how was that transition to going to OVW? Because at that time it was developmental. Now, developmental then versus developmental now, I feel like are two different things.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, but I think I heard what you said. Believe it or not, being from Canada, I had more of a cultural shock um, going to Louisville, Kentucky, than I did moving to Japan. It was so different. It was so bizarre down there. Um, I just had no exposure to like, America like that,
Hmm.
I just saw what you kind of see on TV.
Do you have any favorite moments or times from OVW while you were down there?
Oh man, meeting Rip Rogers, is was a life changing gift. The man that would ultimately give me the knowledge I needed to go have a career, make a living. He really stripped it down in simple terms and put it back together, and he's given a lot of people the ability to go earn a living. He's a special person.
Hmm. Now, during your time there, how long, when you went down there, were you already developmental or no?
No, so I was there for 2 years and 2 weeks, and that's how long it took me to walk in the door in the beginners class. Then in about like 3 weeks to a month, I was in the intermediate class, and that was when I had Rip Rogers. That was like the majority of my time there. And then near the end, I made it to the advanced class, and the advanced class was where you would also find developmental guys.
Hmm.
That was with Al Snow, and I was in that class when I got signed.
Now,
There,
after, go
there was
ahead.
about 30. Sorry, there was 30 guys at the time in the advanced class, and maybe 25 or 26 were signed, and a few guys weren't.
Now, after you were signed, how did things change for you? Like, was it immediately you were throwing ideas out, they were giving you ideas, or was it just the same?
No, so I was Boris Alexiev. I was
Hmm.
with Vladimir Kozlov. So I'm just gonna turn on my battery here, and yeah, we were tagging, and I ended up doing that because I got my visa, and I came back in like I think November, like early November or something. So it was like November, December, Christmas break, come back, January, February. March, and I debuted in April. So I was there for like, I guess, 6 months in developmental.
Hmm. And how did Santino come about?
Yeah, so Vince had an idea for this someone to debut in Italy, and he asked somebody to look at the developmental roster and see if we have any Italian people there. So my shoot name, of course, Anthony Corelli. Corelli is Italian, and they called me and they asked me if I could speak Italian, and I could speak a little. I could say a few things. I wasn't fluent by any means, but you know, fake it till you make it. And yeah, I flew down, and like the next day, I flew to Italy.
How
They
crazy is
asked me if I,
that?
yeah, I was driving to Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and I was Boris, I was
Mhm.
Boris. And then, you know, 48 hours later, Boris was like, I felt sad. I felt like Boris died. I felt like I betrayed him because Boris got me hired.
Uh-huh.
And then Santino came along, and that was the end of Boris. And then I moved back home.
So how was that going from developmental to the main roster, made a champion? How was all that transition?
Well, the biggest thing is going from zero to life on the road.
Hmm.
Like, driving 1,000 miles a week, putting on shows. Um, and at that point, I was pretty, green still comparatively, right? So
Hmm.
I had to improve a lot. I had to get better and have a lot of matches, and it was just crazy. Like the first time on the road with the WWE, you go to these countries you would have never been to before, on tour. So there's a lot to take in, like, you know what I mean.
Hmm.
You're learning how to wrestle. You're traveling all over the world, and of course, it's time for some fun too, right?
Hmm.
But you got to make sure you don't get too crazy.
So how was those early years of developing Santino on TV and because you got over quick and then like everybody loves Santino Marella. So was that a lot to take in too?
Well, I mean, I debuted as a babyface, and like that, I think like 3 or 4 months I turned heel, and that was when it really started. Like, the Cobra and all that stuff. Um, no, it was great. It was also an interesting time because it was like before social media. I think.
Hmm.
I think there was like MySpace or something back then. Remember?
Hmm.
So it was just around the birth actually of social media and GPSs and apps. So when I first started, it was we still had cell phones, but smartphones weren't so popular yet.
Hmm.
So I got a little taste of the ending of that generation.
Is there any particular moments that stand out during your early years there?
No, everything was fun. I was learning the ropes from Mike Chioda.
Hmm.
He was helping me with the do's and don'ts of life on the road and etiquette and protocol. And I'm grateful for him too. He got me up to speed.
How did Glamorella come about?
Actually, Beth actually suggested that idea to the office, and I think she pitched it to Vince, and Vince liked it, and ended up being some of the most fun I've ever had in the business. And yeah, thankful to her again, man. She's awesome. She's like, I love Beth. She's just so professional and just a great person.
Oh yeah. So during your time on the main roster, did you prefer to be more of a baby face or a heel? Was it fun being a heel, or what did you prefer?
Well, once the people like you, they cheer for you. You don't want to throw that away, but
Hmm.
I imagine I enjoy being a heel. Put it that way.
Hmm. Is there anything that during your, you were Intercontinental Champion, United States Tag Team? Is there anything that you didn't get to accomplish that you wanted to accomplish during that time period?
Yeah, I always thought there would be a miracle moment where I won the title for a few weeks or something like that. I didn't see myself, staying champion for a long time. Just also, I was also older. I was approaching I was almost 40.
Hmm.
Um, and I came like, even though I started wrestling late, I came from a judo background, so my body was already had some wear and tear on it as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, but of course, I always thought there would have been a chance to win the heavyweight championship for a day. And you never know, never say never.
That's true. When you started tagging with Vladimir again, did how did that come about?
I think I pitched that one, because he was kind of, you had this huge, big, strong, intimidating Russian guy. And, sometimes when you're a monster and you lose one match, it's like, what do we do now?
Hmm.
So he was kind of sitting there in that state. He had lost a match. And so I thought, what a great idea to put us together. And he just demolishes people, and I could screw it up somehow. But he saves the day.
It seemed like in that time period, because you had OVW, you had Deep South, you had all these developmental territories, you guys would work on something in developmental, and that just wouldn't translate to TV. Because I grew up in Southern Indiana, so I got to see OVW constantly. So the Bashams, Conway, Dinsmore,
Yeah.
Skyfire, all those guys, and I never really understood why they. I mean, different ideas from different people, but like when you and Vladimir got back together, I would have liked to seen how it was in OVW, but did they just want?
Yeah, you know what? There have been a lot of guys, and years later, some of the guys that made it will talk about them and say, like, man, that guy, if he had a chance on SmackDown, he would have did really well.
Hmm.
There was a lot of guys that I always thought if they were called up, they would have had like this one guy, Fearless Jack Bull. Remember you there back then for that?
Jack Bull, yeah.
Yeah, I mean he was that would have been amazing. That would have
Hmm.
been like everyone would have been talking about it every week. It was so funny. There's guys like Chet the Jet. That guy could have been a megastar on SmackDown or something, right? There's a lot of guys like that back then. Seth Skyfire, you mentioned, he was great. And I've had partners, GT Dynamite. We started training together up here in Toronto, and we fought together in Japan. And he was at OVW, and everything was going great. And boom, broke his leg, right, his
Hmm.
ankle. And momentum killer, man. And my tag team partner, Mr. Stronko, he was my tag when I was doing Boris Alexiev. He was my corner man. He was a wicked wrestler, awesome
Hmm.
pro wrestler, so good. And just as things were going for him, his dad passed back home, and he had to go and be with his family. And sometimes there's these unexpected redirections in life. You can't explain why they happened, and but they sometimes the opportunity doesn't come around again to the same capacity.
Hmm. So after tagging with Vladimir and towards the tail, you get to your end of your WWE run. How how was life when your release came about?
Oh, it's good. Yeah, I opened my business in 2013. Battle Arts Academy, and I was still with the company for like 3 years.
Hmm.
So in 2016, when they didn't renew my contract, I had a business up and running that I was able to, pay more attention to, and I was teaching judo and teaching wrestling, and it was good. And I did a TV show on Sportsnet called Aftermath, which was like so much fun. I loved it.
Hmm.
And no, life after wrestling was good. It was awesome.
How is Battle Arts going? I've seen that Rips went up there a couple times, and
Yeah, Battle Arts right now is doing awesome, man. I can't complain. The jiu-jitsu program's huge, and amateur wrestling program's huge. Boxing is doing really well. Pro wrestling is like awesome. A lot of a good young talent
mhm.
and some really good coaches that care. They really care. And that's one of the most important things, man. Once a coach stops caring, it's tough, right?
Oh yeah, you just don't want someone that just goes through the motions just to go through the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like seeing your daughter chase this dream?
Yeah, no, I mean she's there, man. She's in WWE. She's already featured on NXT every week, and she'll just continue to do more and more. I'm hoping maybe next 2025, maybe we see her somewhere on Raw or SmackDown. She just
Hmm.
has to get more reps and more matches and more matches. But I'm, you know, like she wouldn't be ready to go have a match with Charlotte in WrestleMania.
Hmm.
But if she's on the screen with Charlotte in a pre-tape, you know, they look like they're in the same league.
Hmm.
You know, that's really important. The perception of someone being a superstar. The wrestling will come.
Hmm. You feel like it's more pressure the way that developmental is now versus back then, like with NXT being televised nationally. Like OVW was local TV, but now it seems like they're throwing them straight on.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good because the person, like when somebody get called up from OVW, there was crickets for a while until they got to know them. But it, now that that sometimes they're pretty well known,
Hmm.
and if they can get that good reaction right off the bat, that'll definitely have be helpful for their career.
Hmm. So, what made your return to wrestling come about on a national level?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me turn my key here a little bit. I know it's not on. Shoot, I might have to start the car. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
It's kind of loud. Scott Demore, friend of mine, and just basically said, why don't you come work for us? And I was really busy before, but after 2020, I kind of cleared up my schedule a little bit,
Hmm.
and COVID and everything. I kind of did a little reset of my own life in terms of I was working like 7 days a week, so much coaching and putting on shows and just running the business. It's a big facility, and then I didn't want to work 12, 16-hour days anymore. So I got partners that came on board, and they kind of run the day to day. So I freed up my time to go do things I love to do, and producing and being on television is one of those things. So once the post COVID dust settled a little bit, the opportunity came. I said, you know what? Let's do it, man. And it was just such a fun year. 2023 was,
Hmm.
man, one of my most fun years in wrestling like ever. Just rekindled my love for being on the road, for being on TV and contributing, and so I'm enjoying it, man. I can this year has already been awesome. And it's still just starting.
What's the main differences between WWE and TNA?
I'll just budget,
Yeah.
we might have one or two trucks, and they'll have 20 trucks, and it's same thing. We'll have we have several producers, but they'll have double.
Hmm.
Just everything's more, yeah, larger scale.
Did anything particular stand out from TNA so far during your time there?
Man, well, there's the news that came out about Scott Demore getting released, and everyone was devastated about that. But uh, for me, it was a year that I met so many new people,
Hmm.
like Zack Sabre Jr. and Will Ospreay that came over. Amazing.
Hmm.
The whole TNA locker room. I've met some of the guys over the years, but to be a part of that locker room was great. Some old friends, some new faces, some young, up and coming, hungry talent. Guys like ABC, the Rascals, like those guys are wicked, man. And now the fact that Nick Nemeth is here, oh my
Hmm.
God, I think these guys can break out into the next level, man. Start, go from between $1,000 and $2,000 house people houses.
Hmm.
We can start getting 6, 7, 8,000 people to shows. Maybe get close to that 10,000 people mark.
Hmm.
We have the superstars now, and I mean the product is awesome. We just got to get maybe on a little bit of a bigger channel and
Hmm.
get kind of get viral, kind of, and I think we can do it, man.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You said that you've seen the people in passing. I don't think people really understand how busy you are when you're at WWE. And you don't really have a lot of time to do stuff. So getting to see these new faces and work with this new talent, it must be refreshing to see that there's something outside of just that little bubble there.
It is a bubble, yeah, it is a bubble. It's funny. I was there for 10 years, and I was just talking to Nick Nemeth, and I'm like, because my neck surgery was like 10 years ago. So basically, I was still with the company for a couple of years, but came off the road about 10 years ago. And I'm like, you've been there the whole time? He's like, the whole time, man. I'm like, that is crazy. But do you know how much I've done in the last 10 years? Like, it's just nuts. And, it's an honor and a privilege to do it and be there because it's obviously great and the money's great. And, but sometimes when you get sucked in, like, he's going to have a lot of fun. I
Mm-hmm.
told him, I'm like, you're the equity he has in his character and superstar that he is, and Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, all that stuff. To have that, and now to be in the driver's seat completely about where you want to work and who you want to work and how you want your matches to be. I go, you're gonna have so much fun,
Mm-hmm.
so much, and he is. He's having a great time, and maybe he's the chosen one, man, the one to take us to that level.
Very well could be. If there's any advice you could give to anybody getting into professional wrestling, what would it be?
Oh man, go to school. It's hard. Um, I mean, if somebody has the right set of attributes, then go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But when someone doesn't have the right mindset and they're like daydreamers, it can be pretty disappointing, right? Because people, they imagine something so much and so often that they start to believe that it's supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
it's meant to be. I've seen it so much in my mind, it has to be. I've dreamt it, and that's not the way it works, right? You got to be super disciplined with your diet and training. You got to be jacked. I know there's anomalies, but you really would be helping yourself if you got in like a shape, in the shape that when you look at that person, you say to yourself, "Man, that guy's professional. Look at that. Look at the way he looks or she looks." Um, and if you don't have that discipline, then you know, just don't complain in the future when you didn't make it. Um, get a good coach, a reputable coach, who's going to teach you how to work and tell stories, and you know, don't do crazy stuff and cut yourself all up and go through light bulbs, and that's just, it's very dangerous with very little reward.
Mm-hmm. What do you want Santino's legacy to be?
Just that I brought a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's it. My daughter is, she's obviously going to be part of my legacy. And
Mm-hmm.
then I also have little small children as well that I got to train now to be athletes and kick some ass.
Absolutely, sir. I just want to say thank you for taking some time out today to talk a little bit about your career. Thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling and what you continue to do, sir.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
If there's anything I can ever do, please feel free to reach out.
No problem. You got it, man.
Thank you.